My team are asking me to come in earlier than expected today. Good morning. Today is actually my last day as an F2 doctor, which is absolutely crazy to me. I can't believe I've been doing this for 2 years. I actually have 3 of our new F1s shadowing me today, and it just feels like a very full circle moment because I remember all too well how incredibly terrifying it was to start as a new F1 and feel completely lost and out of my depth. So I'm kind of excited to have them come along with me today and just get them well acquainted with the ward, teach them how the basics work, and hopefully they'll find that really helpful because I didn't really get that when I started as an F1, and I honestly just want to make their transition as easy as possible because it is a very huge change and it's scary, and if I can do anything to help then I will. But one thing that does concern me is it seems we are very understaffed today, and that's something that I'm not really going to miss about this job. It's that time of year where everybody is taking their annual leave and we are left so understaffed, and it's getting a bit frustrating, but I'm manifesting a good day. I need to head in right now if I want to be on time. So I hope you enjoy this video. I figured I had to document my last day as an F2. It's just a monumental moment for me. If you enjoy this video, then subscribe and let's just get into it. Day. I didn't continue filming after work yesterday because in all honesty I had absolutely zero capacity to do so. I had the busiest last day I could have possibly asked for, and although I love my job and I'm so grateful because this last rotation has been my absolute favourite out of the entire F2 year, it wasn't the best way to end. I was just overwhelmed and extremely stressed all day, and then I didn't really get to say bye to anybody because everybody else was so busy as well that when I was leaving I couldn't find anyone. So I can't say it was the best last day, but at the same time I am so happy because I'm going home today. It feels very weird to say that I am no longer an F2, but I'm also just incredibly proud, and I will get into all of that later, my advice, what I've learned, all of that. But for now I have like 2 hours to pack up my entire life and basically move out. So I'm going to do that now and pop on some Grey's Anatomy in the background and really just smash it out. As ridiculous as this sounds, I feel like it didn't really hit me that I'm leaving until I saw my room and it's bare bones, but part of me is like, this is not a big deal. I've come to the end of my foundation training. It's not like yesterday was my last ever day as a doctor, but then another part of me truly just feels like this is the end of an era. I've wanted to be a doctor my entire life. Ever since I was about 8 years old, I've had everything mapped out for me. It was studying to get my grades, getting into medical school, getting through medical school, which was the biggest challenge I've ever faced, intellectually, emotionally, mentally, and then I made it through and I started as an F1 doctor. I remember my first day so very clearly because I've never felt more proud of myself and I've never felt more sure that I was exactly where I needed to be, where I was meant to be, doing exactly what I was meant to be doing. That made all the hard work and challenges and everything worth it because for the last 2 years, although I do have some down days, most days I come out of it feeling so good, and it's a very rewarding job to have. I feel like everybody says it's such a cliche that you go into medicine and become a doctor to help other people. It's also very true. Like I said, everything's been mapped out for me. It was medical school, F1, F2, and now suddenly I have all of these opportunities open to me. I'm not obligated to do anything. I could go into specialty training, whether that was GP, surgery, medicine, endless opportunities, or I could go traveling. I could have a break from medicine altogether. I could completely switch careers. I could do a further F3, F4, F5 and just locum. I really can do whatever I want to do, and although that's incredibly exciting, it's also extremely fucking terrifying because there's only so many decisions I've really had to make in the last like 10 years of my life, and now I could literally go anywhere and do anything. It just feels very big in the best way, but also in a very scary way. I don't know how to feel, I don't know how to process it. It just feels very odd, and I don't know when it's going to hit me properly that like I'm not going into work tomorrow. It just feels really odd and really weird and confusing. But while I am having a little moment reminiscing and feeling very proud of myself, I also wanted to give a little bit of advice, because all of the new F1s and F2s are starting today as I'm filming, and it just makes me feel very nostalgic, because I remember, like I said, I remember my first day starting as an F1, and it was terrifying. I was like, I'm not ready for this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know anything. I don't know anyone. It was so scary, but within like 3 days I was in my element, and it was amazing. So I do just want the people who are starting to understand they're not alone in that very odd feeling of being scared but also being excited and anxious and nervous and everything under the sun. It's a very normal thing to feel, and personally I felt that basically every time I changed my job, because training in the UK is really difficult. You rotate every 4 months, you change your specialty, your team, your ward, sometimes your hospital. It's such a challenge. I found that constant change really kind of horrible, to be honest, because it takes a solid 3 months to get to know where everything is on your ward and get to know all of the names of everybody that works on your ward, and then you finally feel comfortable for like 4 weeks and suddenly you're moved again and you have to start all over again. It's a lot for anybody to handle, and I never want anybody to feel alone in that feeling, but it does get better. Once you do get into that comfortable position, it's amazing, and you really do get out of it what you put into it. And the one thing that I would always say to people who are going into medicine or who are starting their jobs is strive to learn. You're in a profession that is always changing, whether it's technology that's advancing or new research being developed and finding out new things about diseases and how to manage them. You will always be learning and growing as a doctor and just generally as a human being. I personally think that is the best part about being a doctor. At first I used to think it was horrible because it's a lot of pressure. You always feel like the stupidest person in the room, like genuinely, always. For a very long time I felt like I didn't know enough, I wasn't doing enough, everybody else knew more than me and knew what they were doing, and I knew nothing. I really do believe that your education starts when you start your F1 training. You get to know the basics of scientific knowledge in medical school, but when you start your F1, you learn that you're dealing with human beings. You learn trends in how things present and how you treat them, and the way that you become the best you can be is through repetition, practice, making mistakes, learning from your mistakes, and it's an incredible process. It's grueling, it's horrible, it's so challenging, but at the same time it's amazing, and I'm very, very grateful that I've been able to go through it. The last 2 years have been the best and worst of my life, and I wouldn't change it. I can't change it, but I've learned a lot. I have proved to myself over and over again that I am so capable of dealing with so many different things that I thought was completely impossible. Oh my god, I don't know why I'm like crying right now. I think I must have briefly explained what my plan is for the next year, but for those of you who are wondering, I am going home for the next 2 weeks because, like I said, I have endless opportunities. I have no obligation to start working tomorrow, the next day, next week, next month. I can literally do whatever I want. So I'm going home for 2 weeks to honestly do the absolute bare minimum. I want to sit in the garden and read my book. I want to go for my runs, maybe do a bit of decluttering, because spending this morning packing up my entire life, I've realised I own way too much stuff. But other than that, I'm just going to spend a solid 2 weeks spending time with my family, my friends, relaxing, and then I'm moving back to Cardiff because I very much miss the big city life. I loved living out in West Wales for the last 2 years. It's been lovely, especially last year, being able to go to the beach whenever I wanted. It's been picturesque, but I kind of miss civilization. And Cardiff is a really good centralized place to commute to different hospitals as well, because for the next 6 months our plan is to get as many locum shifts as possible, honestly make as much money as we can, because from February we're going to be traveling, me and my boyfriend, for 6 months, and I am so excited. I'm excited to grow in a whole other way, experience some new cultures and cuisines. Traveling is one of my favorite things to do, and I just feel like right now is the perfect time in my life for a little hiatus to just experience the world and not so much focus on my career right now, and that's absolutely fine. That feels very right for me and I'm really excited. Obviously within the next year I do have to make a bit of time to apply for specialty training. So for those of you who don't know, I want to go into obstetrics and gynecology, so within the next year I need to start studying, so I have to take an exam, and then hopefully I will get an interview and get a position in obs and gynae training that will start in 2025, so like August of 2025. But that's the long-term plan. If you want to see how the rest of my year pans out, definitely subscribe, because one of my favorite things to do is document my entire life and share my experiences. But for now I'm going to finish packing up and end this video off here because it's time to head home. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe for more, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.